welcome to today's Reflect and Rejoice. And I wanted to speak today from the book of Ephesians and chapter 4 and just verses 1 to 3. So let's read those together. I, therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. I'm just going to read that again because it's really short. I, therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Now, I think that this is a passage of great hope, although at first glance it might not seem like it, because if you're anything like me, it's really easy to read passages like this and kind of do this little a sharp intake of breath at just the height of the standards that we are expected to live at. Really, am I really expected to live a life worthy of the calling that I have received, completely humble and gentle, totally unified with my Christian brothers and sisters? And I become very discouraged sometimes at how far I fall short. Now, of course, we know that Paul here is not talking about the height of the bar for salvation, but I still sometimes crumple a little bit at the thought that this is the way that God expects his children to walk through their Christian life. And there's a lot of passages like this in the Bible, in these letters particularly, these kind of do this, don't do that kind of passages that talk about our walk with God. And this one in particular talks about walking worthy. He says that in verse 1, I urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling that you've been called to. And Paul goes on to explain to the Ephesians a little bit more what this looks like. All humility and gentleness, patience, bearing with one another in love, and maintaining the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. So we are carrying this calling that we have, this mantle. We are the children of God. We are tasked with taking the good news of Christ to the nations. And further on, he references how we are the body of which Christ is the head. And what a calling that is to be worthy of. And what an impossible weight that sometimes seems like it might be to bear. But there's a little word here that totally transforms this passage from a weight on our shoulders to a lift under our feet, from the heavy weight of high expectation to the hopeful anticipation of what can be gained. And it's the little word right at the beginning, therefore. Because suddenly this whole passage, you now look at it in context and it has a cause. Because now we look back and we think about it in terms of the end of chapter 3, which is what Liam spoke about on Sunday. And we realize that all this is in actual fact something that springs from something else. It springs from something other than ourselves. And on Sunday, Liam talked about the roots of the love of Christ and the strength and power that found in the Spirit. And it's this that therefore allows us to walk in this manner, to be the body of Christ, humble, bearing with one another in love, perfectly unified. It's because of this that we not only should walk worthy, but we can walk worthy. We are freed not to a life of further restrictions, but freed to be able to live a wonderful life, walking in a way that is worthy of the calling that we have been given. And it's not us, but it's Christ in us. The Christian life is a beautiful blend of God simultaneously asking his children to walk worthily and himself being the reason and source and sustenance of the strength to do so. So we rejoice because we can walk worthy